She Quest Podcast is heart-opening dialogues for self-identified women on a She Quest, a movement moving forward, striving to live aware, bold, and whole. Welcome. Hi, She Quest. Welcome to She Quest Podcast guest series. I'm your host, Estelle Thomson. This series of podcast shows is titled Beauty of Relationship. Help yourself, help others. This month, we explore and dive deep in the beauty of relationships. And for me, that means going beyond our relationship with others and looking at the relationship we have with ourselves and our inner voices first. This month, I thought I would bring the podcast close to home. I have hoped to interview my dad, my best friend, my brother, and my husband, all my close relations. My hope is this, that through our guests this month, you start seeing that the relationship you have with others is a direct reflection of how you treat yourself and who you are. Also, how building a relationship with your inner voices can empower the relationship with yourself and your life. Today, I'm so very thrilled to have my husband, dad to my son, and love of my life, Scott Thomson, on the show. Scott grew up here in Halifax with his mom and sister, and that's also where he went to school for dentistry right out of university. But when I think of him, I think so much more in terms of adventurous yet down-to-earth and passionate guy who is at his happiest surfing cold waves of the Atlantics, working on his catamaran in our garage. I love his engagement and dedication to our son, and I feel so lucky we've been able to surpass the worst together. 5 years ago, we lost our son Tommy unexpectedly, and 3 months ago, we've also lost Hannah, Scott's sister, to cancer. Through the highs, the low, and the in-between, Scott and I have been riding our own waves, I guess. The intention of this podcast is to talk candidly about going through really tough situation as a couple and how this has affected our relationship. Hi.
Hello.
And I just so you guys get just a little picture. It's Friday night here, and we're just in our sweats, and we're having a drink. And I just also want to mention how a big deal it is. I know you don't like talking and doing this type of things, and you're doing it anyway. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So first, I always ask all my guests, what makes you feel alive today? So I'm asking you.
Just doing the things that I like to do or that I love to do.
What is that?
You pretty much mentioned it already. Surfing, spending time with my family, doing fun things.
Yeah. And before, I guess we just dive in the subject of our conversation, just can you tell us just about yourself and where'd you grow up and how did we meet? I love to hear you say the story.
Well, as you mentioned, I grew up in Halifax. When I finished dental school at Dal, I moved to Victoria in British Columbia. That's where Estelle and I met. We had spotted each other at yoga classes, and then finally we saw each other out one night and started talking, and that was it.
I love that your first words to me were, "You're the yoga girl."
That's
yeah. Right. Yeah. I guess we can just get into the topic, and I guess my intention for just doing this conversation, and also first off, it's grief is so complex, and it's we're not giving advice or whatever. We're just saying how it played out for you. But what do you remember of Tommy and just that whole episode of our life, I guess?
Mostly the good times. There were a lot of hard times. He wasn't healthy a lot, and he wasn't always feeling good. He probably suffered a lot. But I pretty well just I choose to remember the good times when he was happy and feeling good, and laughing and smiling and having fun, just being around us.
Yeah. How do you remember, like, I feel sometimes like when I look back at NICU, like the whole time, like that was like so.
That all, to me, it just feels like a blur.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, that was a few months, but once we got out of there, there was a lot more time just at home, just more or less normal time. So that's really what I remember. The hospital is something I'll never forget, but I really just see that as it feels like a blur now.
It was crazy to think that, like I say, I was like 9 months old.
Yeah, he was a baby too.
He was a baby. Yeah. And like, what do you remember? Like, if you think, like, do you remember, like, what did we do right? Like, you think, like, through this whole ordeal of like losing Tommy, or like,
just I guess just trying to move forward, be happy, and remember the good times, and never forget him. But I'll always to pick yourself up and keep moving. That's the way I dealt with it, anyway.
And I feel like, I mean, we're good at giving each other space. I think we were talking about that today.
Yeah,
I think
we do our own thing, and we have time together, and it's nice to have space, but have support too.
I guess that was a lot of like of the questions I get all the time is like, what did you think of the documentary?
I thought it was incredible. I loved it. I mean, I lived it, so I kind of knew the story before it came out, but it was certainly cool to see it all on the TV and see it told as a story. Yeah, I thought that was incredible. But I guess for me, there were no surprises. I knew the beginning and the end, and I just thought it was really, really great to see how you kind of arranged it and told the story and the visuals. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was really proud of you.
Aw, thanks, babe. And I guess, like, what else would you do right, you think? I know it's hard. Like, I feel we can't really, because remember, like, when Tommy passed, like, a lot of people, like, a lot, I feel were like, this is the hardest thing you can go through as a couple. Like, I mean, one of the things I think sometimes it's like, can you imagine we'd been together for like a year and like this had happened to us? Like, I mean, we did have like, as a couple, you know, we did have a bit of a ground to stand on before all this happened, you know?
We did, but I don't know. I don't know if that would have made a difference. I mean, maybe it would have, but the reality was that we just, we tried our best to support each other, and luckily, neither of us were not willing to keep moving forward. And so that made it easy. Maybe we were lucky that way. Maybe if one person can't move forward, it's hard for the other person too.
What talk to me more about like just surfing and stuff.
Well, surfing is great exercise. It's really fun.
What do you feel when you're on your surfboard?
Some of my closest friends are into surfing, so it's time I get to spend with them. But I guess it's just when you catch a really great wave, you just living in that very moment. Nothing else matters. And it's only for a short, maybe it only lasts 10 seconds, but you really just feel like you're in the moment, and it makes you feel great. And the other night, like last Monday, I was surfing, and some days you don't get many good waves, and some days you get a lot of good waves. And I was just out for about an hour before it got dark, and I swear I got probably one of the best waves I've had in years. And just the feeling after that was like heart's beating really fast, and just was awesome. Keeps you going back for more.
I love that. That's how I feel when I do yoga. I think that's always been like a good way, like we've been able to connect, even though it's like we don't do yoga together anymore, we don't surf together, but we get it.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, we understand.
And now that we're just like, I mean, I think traveling is like a big thing for us too. Like, I think that's helped us. Like, think of like going to Australia or just trips we've been on where we've been able to like do what we love. And
yeah, it's great to be able to do that. You get to see other places and have a nice vacation.
I'll always remember like maybe after Tommy passed away, like, and we did like organ donation, and you were on the phone with this person, and they were asking us where Tommy had been. You remember? And he had been so many places. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I mean,
like he had been to
lucky. They had more
yeah
stamps in their passports when they were babies than most people have until they're an adult,
Mm-hmm.
So that gives them a nice perspective on the world. Get to see other things.
Mm-hmm. Hey there, interrupting this incredibly heart-opening episode to let you know about my new art channel. If you're listening to this podcast as a SheQuest member, this feature is included in the membership sisterhood community. Yay! More than 8 21 days of mindful art classes and curated topics for each class, such as 21 days of birds and butterfly, 21 days of love and loss, 21 days of women in power, and so on. Classes and programs are being uploaded on a monthly basis. If you aren't part of the membership and would like to try the art channel, this option is now available. Use the coupon SHEART, that's SHEART, all big letters, to get 1 month free. And tell the women and men you know and love about this stunning opportunity to develop a home art practice. SheQuest membership doors will open again in January. But until then, enjoy my art channel and say yes to creative living, yes to showing up, and yes to connection. Now back to our ever-expanding conversation. I guess we've been lucky in that. I mean, it's made us stronger. Even if I look, because it could have brought us apart, but it's made us closer. Everything,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what about your boat?
My boat?
Well, it's amazing. I mean, to think okay, I know you have this relationship with surfing, but you have been building this boat for 8 years.
Well, very part-time. It's a hobby. I enjoy it. It's quite different from my work because the pieces of wood never complain that what I'm doing is hurting them. And it's just, I like to watch it take shape, and someday it's going to go in the water and hopefully it will float. And it's just a hobby. You can't always surf. You got to do something else when there's no waves or you don't have time to go surfing. I can go out in my garage and tinker with it for a short amount of time, or sometimes I do for all day. It's a nice relaxation for me.
Mm-hmm. I can't believe it's your hobby. It's pretty crazy to think the knowledge you've had to build, and
it's been a lot of head scratching. Figure out what to do next.
8 years ago, as I was a baby, and you were you're gonna think I'm crazy. I'm I want to build this boat. It's amazing.
Well, twice I didn't touch it for 6 months. So really, it's only been 7 years. In some weeks, I only work on it for 2 hours. So it just takes time.
So I guess my next question is, do you think your hobbies help you somehow through what we've been through, with Tommy and with your sister? And
sure, you have to have time for yourself. My hobbies haven't changed. I've been doing the same kind of thing. I've been surfing for a long, long time. And before I started building the boat, I was building furniture and other things. So this was just a continuation of that. So I'm lucky to have some things I really like to do. And in good times and in bad times, you can do that to take your mind off everyday life. So it's been great for me.
I love it. Okay. What about, so I know the next questions you're it's not your forte, but I'm just going to roll with it. Okay? You ready?
Okay.
Okay. Your own favorite tools for self-growth.
Never really thought about that.
I know. But actually, I was thinking about something that we do that we kind of and I don't want to take over the podcast or anything, but when we're stuck in a car for driving somewhere, we talk about our goals and things like that. I mean, that's a good ritual we do as a couple,
right.
Where we're we're
you have to have goals, and you have to have a plan or a vision of where you want to go. And if you don't have that, then you can't make a clear path to self-growth.
Yeah. But you know, like sometimes I make you like say things like, you know, what do you want to feel about like this certain area of your life or something? You know when I make you do that?
Yes.
But it's good to do that as a couple. Like even to be like, okay, where like in terms of like our family, like even the stuff we want to do in the house, let's say like rooms we want to paint or like renos or like whatever, and then like where we want to be personally and then work wise, and then I mean those are good things to do, no?
I agree.
I don't know if I always do them in like that same book, and like once I look back and like we had done like almost like 3/4 of the things, you know,
It's
we'd
pretty
said.
good. It's like a business having a mission statement.
Yeah.
Mission statement.
Yeah. But I feel we only do that when we're like stuck in a car for like.
Well, it's a good time to do it. Got some downtime.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're too busy to be thinking about that.
Okay, next question. How about things you do? And I feel like you just do them like instantly, but it comes really natural too, but things you do to ground yourself like before a big day, or even like when you think in terms of dentistry and stuff, because sometimes I know you have to do like big procedures and stuff.
Go over it in your mind before, review what you need to so you know what's ahead, and that's all.
Yeah. One thing I remember thinking is like, how many people like you have to tell that you had lost like Tommy after, like it must have been like so.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of times people don't know me personally as much as like try to make at my office it's more about them, like what's going on in your life. There were certain people that I feel like I knew personally enough that I couldn't not tell them about Tommy, but a lot of people it was just, when you're making conversation, it was just easier not to bring it up because then they get all uncomfortable and it just, easier unless it was a personal friend or someone I knew well. I just didn't mention it.
Yeah, because anyways, you're really good at that.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes I would think I shouldn't deny this happened or try to hide it, but sometimes it just didn't feel right to get into it, and sometimes it did. So go accordingly.
So I guess I have just a little last question.
Okay, fire away.
Okay. Do you have a saying you say to yourself, like a mantra you say to yourself, like?
Yes, I don't know if I say the same thing every time, but the gist of it would be you're about to get out of the car and go into work and basically tell yourself to think positively, like you can do this, like go get them, that kind of thing. Yeah. Like being in the right frame of mind goes a long way to having a good day and being positive and all that sort of thing. So sometimes you just gotta, for me anyway, I just gotta tell myself to go get them.
Yeah. Yeah. Your sister had said something so poignant. She had said, see the light. You're going to laugh at this one, but I'm just going to ask it anyways. Do you have a favorite flower?
Nope.
Oh my God. Okay.
Maybe a daisy. I don't know.
You don't really like the flowers I put on the dinner table, and I put them on there anyways. I love flowers.
I like tulips.
Tulips. I like tulips too. What about, I want to ask a favorite book. I know you don't really read, but how about like a book you really like? Probably on surfing. I mean, you do read like this journal, surfing journal.
Some of my favorite books are usually, I've read a few, I can't remember the guy's name. Is it Joseph Boyden?
Oh, yeah.
Books about World War I. I found those really fascinating. And then the other kind of books I like to read are usually tales of survival. Like one in particular I can think of was called Adrift. It was about this guy who was in a sailboat that sank and he had to go into the life raft, and it took him something like 80 days, and he finally drifted across the Atlantic Ocean, and he had to catch fish and make his own fresh water. and stuff like that. I find that really cool.
Which makes me think of our sailboat trip that we did a lifetime ago.
Thankfully, we didn't have to abandon ship.
Fuck. Sometimes I think of that trip. So just to have a little background. So Scott and I, we met, and was it a year and a half after? A year and a half after.
I think so.
Scott convinced me somehow I had never been on a sailboat, to do this sailboat trip from Victoria, BC to we didn't know where at the time, I guess, just down the coast. And then we were going to move to Halifax, where you're from. And I somehow agreed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we made it as far as San Diego, which wasn't that far, but for a number of reasons we decided to cut the trip short at that point. But it was quite an adventure. We spent a few months traveling by sailboat and exploring all the different places along the way, and it was not a very glamorous trip. It was kind of like
or
the boat
romantic.
Was not really big. It was kind of like living in a minivan, the amount of space inside there, but it was pretty awesome a lot of the time too. I look back on that as one of the a great time in my life. Didn't have any responsibilities, work. It was a lot of freedom on that trip.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I think like, when's the time you felt the most free? And I think
that 4 or 5 months was probably one of those times for sure.
Yeah, and free. It's funny because like freedom doesn't mean it was easy. Like I feel a lot of times like we thought it was really hard.
Yeah, it was exhausting.
It was exhausting. It was scary.
Seasick, and sometimes it was scary.
You were so sick.
A lot of highs and lows, but looking back now, it's pretty easy just to remember all the great things about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that feels like forever ago. Okay, so that's your favorite, but okay, that's a question you'll actually like. Okay. Your favorite workout.
Favorite workout? I like exercising. I don't really do much exercise anymore.
You do too, though.
I do things that are fun. I quit going to the gym when Isaiah was born. When I was younger, I used to go to the gym all the time, but now I just like to do fun things. I play hockey a couple times a week. I surf, if I'm lucky, once or twice a week, and do stretches and things. And then we have a cardio machine. I like the feeling of having your heart rate pumping and gasping for air. It's good for you. But I don't work out anymore.
Well, I know.
Not formally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got hockey and surfing.
Yeah. Just try to be active.
Yeah. Oh, I think you're like the last question the best.
Okay, what is it?
What's your favorite drink?
Favorite drink? Beer.
What about a rum and Coke?
I like that.
You don't drink coffee.
I like gin and tonics. I don't drink coffee.
Well, you love Coke.
Coke. It's probably the caffeine that I like the most. And the sugar rush, but...
Okay, so the last question is always like a bit of a loaded question, but I think you can do it. You've been doing really good, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Knowing what you know about the beauty of relationship, I guess our relationship, what do you think is the most beautiful about our relationship?
That we love each other, have fun together, and we support each other, and we've built a life together, and we have a child, and we have a house, and we have...
Thank you for doing this. I know it's really hard.
It wasn't that hard, actually. No, it's fine. Thank you.
Thanks, babe.
You're welcome.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Bye.